Hey guys, welcome to our first gun review video. Today we will be analyzing the highly coveted and popular R16A4. Now there's been a long debate between top players as to what the best overall rifle in Warface is, and hopefully we can shed some light on the subject today and tell you all what makes this gun great, and also share some insights into its downfalls. Let's start out by talking about how to obtain the gun. It was a vendor weapon for a while, but now it's in a random case for the hefty price of 2,700 Warface dollars for the first box, or 12,650 for 5 boxes. The drop rate seems to be as low as every other gun at about 1.2% for a permanent standard version, and 0.12 for the gold version. An easier and perhaps cheaper way of buying the weapon outright is bidding on the auction house. The high price tag and moderate rarity is definitely something to take into consideration. However, it all seems justified when you just look at how powerful the gun actually is. What makes it so great? Well, first of all, let's take a look at its stats. It has 82 damage, which is far above average. There are only 4 other guns with higher stopping power. There are the XR at 90, the F1000 at 87, Radic at 84, and Fazil at 83. The R16 has 655 RPM, which is also very good for a rifle. Like the damage, only 5 other rifles have a higher rate of fire, specifically the F2000, M95AR, CCR, AC7, and AY551. Pairing the very high damage with moderately high RPM gives you 895 damage per second, placing 5th over all other rifles. Again, there are only a handful of weapons ahead of it. The F2000 in first place, XR in second, followed by the Radic and CCR accordingly. The R16 also has 15.5 range and a 30 bullet magazine capacity. Its hipfire is above average, and its aim accuracy is nearly perfect. Now let's talk about the damage multipliers. Damage multipliers show how much more or less damage a bullet does to different parts of the body. For example, a bullet will generally do less damage to the legs and more to the head. The exact multipliers for the R16A4 are as follows. 5 times damage for a headshot, which means it will always one-hit headshot up to mid-range no matter the helmet and deal a total of 410 damage until damage drop kicks in. 1 times damage for body shot, which means it will do no extra and no less damage than normal. 0.8 times damage for hands and arms, which means it will do less than the normal amount of damage, and only 0.7 times damage for the legs or feet. 82, the normal amount of damage the R16 does with a 0.7 multiplier would cause it to only deal 57 damage, and that isn't even factoring in light protection armor that comes with Warlord boots or anti-mine boots, for example. Moving on, let's talk about something mentioned briefly earlier, damage drop. Simply put, the range stat you see, for example 15.5 on the R16, means the damage will start dropping after 15.5 in-game meters. After the damage value starts to get affected by the damage drop multiplier, which is anywhere from 1 point per meter for the rifles to 3, the specific multiplier for the R16 is 1.1. That means that every meter after 15.5, the damage will decrease by 1.1 ad nauseum. However, after a certain distance, you will hit a damage floor called a minimum, which doesn't allow the damage to go below a certain value, in this case 50. For this gun, the lowest amount of damage it can deal, or the value at which the multiplier no longer has any effect, starts at only 65 meters. 49.5 meters plus the 15.5 meters without damage drop means the R16 only hits the minimum amount of damage it can give at 65 meters. From 65 meters and onwards, it will merely do 50 damage, albeit perpetually. Out of all 21 rifles in this category, the R16A4 has the second lowest damage drop multiplier in its category, making it a great choice for avid marksmen who like to take fights at medium to long range. Factoring in all these details, the R16A4 gets a 25-point CSA rating, making it statistically the 3rd best AR in the game, only below the CCR assault rifle in second and the infamous XIII in first. The CSA rating, which stands for Combined Statistic Analyst Rating, is based purely off numbers, and it is not entirely accurate. We use it only as a tool to gain perspective as to roughly where a gun lies in its archetypal weapon hierarchy. However, statistics don't tell the whole story, so let's take a look at some of the drawbacks and other details that can't be summed up solely by numbers and math. The biggest problem with the R16A4 comes from its recoil. The pattern is somewhat linear and is easily controlled for the first 12 bullets, but quickly spirals out of control in a random pattern afterwards. It has no horizontal recoil for any of its linear recoil pattern. However, it does fluctuate after the randomization begins. It can be controlled in close quarters, but mid to far range is where it requires a certain degree of aptitude. If you miss those first dozen shots, you will have to wait, reset the recoil, and try again. Although it only takes a couple hundred milliseconds, it will almost certainly mean the difference between life or death in a gunfight. Directly pertinent, it is nearly impossible to hit multiple targets without waiting to reset your recoil. This is an issue that many other top guns do not have. For these reasons alone, I would say the skill level required to use the R16 effectively is slightly higher than your average rifle. When using it for the first time, it will be troublesome, but with a little practice, it will be easy to get used to. Considering all the points above, the ease of attainability, the statistics, recoil and handling, as well as skill level required, we conclude by giving this gun an 8.5 out of 10 overall rating. It's near perfect, a great rifle for intermediate players, and highly commended by the competitive community. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you did, please like the video and leave a comment with your thoughts or the weapon you want us to work on next. Thanks for watching.